There is a type of creature in the world. They were discovered by a few people. However, its existence has not been confirmed. We collectively refer to these organisms as Unidentified Mysterious Animal. Unidentified Organism, UMA. Hello everyone, welcome to the UMA video series. Humans established civilization on land. Yet, to this day, they still cannot control the sea. The darkness beneath that deep blue. The world has always made us curious about the inhabitants there. Full of curiosity. Today, I will share with you again a member of the sea monster family. The giant sea creatures that shocked the world in the 19th century. Daedalus sea serpent. It is a top-class frigate of the British Royal Navy, first launched in 1826. The ship is equipped with 46 cannons. However, since it has never been used as a frigate, participated in battle, awarded after 18 years of service. In 1844, it was scaled down and converted into a smaller vessel, more flexible light frigate. August 6, 1848, the Daedalus in the South Atlantic Ocean encountered a giant serpentine sea monster. He returned to England in October of that year, reported October 10, 1848, Thamesburg, UK, in the Naval Intelligence section of the London Sun. The article, titled Giant Sea Snake, was published. The content is as follows. 4th of this month, frigate Daedalus arrived at the port under Captain McGear's command. The ship was on its return voyage from the East Indies, passing through Homoncock and the sea area between Helena Island. I encountered a car at 4 p.m. one afternoon. Giant sea snake. The captain and most of the crew saw him within the visible range in front of the frigate. Stayed for about 20 minutes, then swim under the stern. His head was about 4 feet above the water. The visible parts of the body extend straight underwater, approximately 60 feet. That is, about 18 meters, equivalent to 6 to 7 stories high, according to estimates, underwater. It also has a tail thruster that is about 30 to 40 feet long. He moved at a speed of 15 English words per hour. Its body portion above water has a diameter, approximately 16 inches. When he opened his mouth, densely arranged serrated fangs can be seen. The opening and closing space of the 2 giant crocodiles, enough to accommodate a size. A tall man stood among them. At that time, the Daedalus was traveling at a speed of 1 hour per hour, sailing north at 8 miles per hour. He left Moncock on July 3rd, arrived on Snowpolo Island on August 16th. The report quickly sparked controversy, considering the impact of information dissemination. The Navy Department quickly requested that the No-4 ship be sailed on the deep, provide a statement to refute the rumors, or a detailed report of the event. Then, Captain Michael's encounter with the Sea Society, in the form of New. The title was given to the then Admiral. This issue of Jazz Concepts will be released on October 14th. The Taiwan City News published this letter verbatim. It was published in the newspaper. The content is as follows. Sir, regarding your inquiry in today's letter, the Thai Advisory Journal published Royal warships under my command. On the return voyage from the East Indies, saw reports of unusually large sea snakes. Is it true? I am reporting this to you to suffocate the officials of the Navy. 5 p.m. on August 6th. I see it located at 24 degrees 44 minutes south latitude, 9 degrees 22 minutes east longitude. The weather was overcast and cloudy. Strong northwest wind. The wandering in the southwest is long. The ship sailed sideways in a northeasterly direction. At this time, naval cadets, I noticed something very strange. The simplified Chinese characters are rapidly approaching from the front of Chuan County. He immediately reported the situation to the officer on duty. At that time, I was playing against Edgar Drummond, the centre-back, and Captain William Barrett strolling on the aft deck. The other crew members are having dinner when we noticed the object. It turned out to be a giant sea serpent. Head and shoulders always keep about 4 feet above the water. We buy its compare with the length of the main cap extending horizontally in the water. Estimate its length to be at least 60 feet. According to our observation, he did not use any part of his body, propelled in water. He quickly slipped in and out through the side of my opening. If I knew what that was, I would have rushed in. You'll recognize it at a glance, whether approaching the ship, even after passing through my wake. He did not deviate from the horizontal direction of southwest at all. Always travel at a speed of 12 to 15 miles per hour. This was clearly for some predetermined purpose. The diameter of the area behind his head is approximately 15 to 16 inches. Undoubtedly, it was a snake. Through the telescope, observe him for 20 minutes. He never dived underwater. Its color is dark brown. The area around the throat is yet. He has no navel, but its back has a texture similar to horsehair, or a structure like a bundle of seaweed, drifting with the waves. Besides myself and the aforementioned officers, Training Officer Bosun, both the assistant and the shopaholic, saw him. I am making people, based on the sketch he drew immediately after seeing him, the pattern for making this sea snake. It is expected to be delivered by mail tomorrow. Addressing the officials of the Ministry of the Navy. October 28, 1848. The Illustrated London News was authorized by These 3 illustrations of sea snakes were published. The figures represent respectively. The Daedalus saw the image of the giant serpent for the first time. Sea snakes passed under the stern, and close-up shots of the head. December of the same year. British entomologist Edward Newman, attempting to publish in the Zoologist's Journal, published these drawings. However, it was rejected due to copyright issues. However, he successfully obtained, and another crew member, Drummond, the centre-back, was also mentioned. Contents in private notes. The captain's account was confirmed. This article, descriptions of the sea monster and Captain Maguire's testimony. The words are largely the same, but slightly different. Drummond simply stated, he looked more like a large snake, or eels have a dorsal spine, head slender and sharp, flat-topped deer. The related reports had a significant impact at the time. The newspapers, big and small, that we can find now, almost all of them, more or less, related reprints have been published. News. Because in that era, most naval officers, they have all received a good education, possessing certain meteorological knowledge, math, basic knowledge of marine zoology and other related fields, so it's hard to believe people like Captain Peter Maguire can write stories. Thus, the unknown giant serpent sea monster. News of its presence in the Atlantic Ocean. It spread throughout the world. Enlightenment times. We have received letters from people from all walks of life. Most of them are doubts. The newspaper was happy to let the news spread and increase sales. If you carefully search for tale from that period, times, you'll find that it's like a battlefield of public opinion. Opinions from all parties were expressed through letters, published on the brick wall. The truth about sea monsters. You can see all sorts of guesses and directions. A surviving snake, Jinglong's lost horse, deep sea, caustic fish, etc., etc. British paleontologist Richard Irwin, the earliest known description of the Daedalus sea serpent. One of the scholars who made the conjecture. He picked up a letter from the newspaper on November 2nd of that year. The report was published on November 14th, regarding the content of the old article. Not asking Jazz. It seems that what the crew saw was not taken into account. It may be some kind of sea snake, lizards, or some unknown animal. Instead, it's more likely that it was a creature that drifted away from an iceberg and lost. Large, open. For example, seals. The so-called huge size. Maybe it was just when I went swimming. The trail left on the water's surface. Moreover, the description of the creature walking. Hair. Both their swimming style and swimming method are consistent with the characteristics of mammals. The concept of giant snakes, based solely on the crew. Preconceived notions about sea monsters. They mistook this unfamiliar, enormous creature for monsters in mythology. Regarding this statement, Captain Michael didn't buy it. He wrote a letter to the newspaper on the 18th. He publicly responded that he was certain it was not a poster. He insisted on his eyewitness account of the creature. and emphasized that the witnessing distance was very close. Observation is clear enough. That was definitely not an illusion or some known animal. The second, more popular guess appeared in 1858. That is, the Galdaros Sea Society. 10 years after the incident, February 12th of the new year, I saw a news report in Taihu World Journal from another ship, Captain Frederick of Peak. Smith's report. He said he had heard about the fate of the Galdaros back then, and on December 28th of the same year, in the same area of the South Atlantic, I also encountered a snake-like sea monster. The ship was in perfect weather at the time. They saw it inside and outside the crescent moon. There is a strangely shaped object. It has a huge head and a long neck. Its entire body is covered with long, fluffy fur. He was convinced that it was the legendary sea serpent, so he sent out a small team. They went to investigate in a small boat. When they get close, the monster was not avoided, so they lassoed it with a long rope. The mothership was towed back. Only then did they realize that was a huge piece of seaweed. It appears lifelike because it follows the gentle current of the sea. A few days later, the seaweed spoiled under the sun. The stench was unbearable. They were thrown back into the sea, Smith said. He had no doubt about the objects he saw on the Great Ross. They must be the same kind of thing. Interestingly, after Smith's report was published, it was quickly met with skepticism. But the question wasn't about his theory. Rather, it's the veracity of his report. Someone discovered, in the London Sun on July 9th, 1849, there is an almost identical report. But the main character isn't Smith, and the supporting cast is good. Instead, another ship. The ship and its 8-star captain, Harriman. They are on their way to the coordinates of the Daedalus chariot, at approximately 40 meters. I saw that clump of seaweed, regarding which of the two reports was fabricated. Opinions vary, but because Smith's article appeared 10 years later, therefore, they are relatively more likely to be questioned. British naturalist Henry Lee, in his 1883 book, Unveiling the Mystery of the Sea Monster, in art, this suggests that what the crew saw may not be sea serpents in mythology. It is highly likely that it was a kind of thing at that time. Marine life, not yet widely recognized by the scientific community. Giant squid, because of the existence of the plot at that time, although there have been sporadic reports. However, it has not entered the mainstream scientific field of vision. It is generally considered as absurd as the legend of the lake monster, and it is precisely this cognitive blind spot. This led to the Daedalus, experienced crew, misidentified as a sea serpent, and judging from the image described, due to the conical tip of the body and the triangular exhaust pattern, it may be mistaken for the head, slightly above the water level, and occasionally it submerges underwater. Yo-yo, similar to the state when swimming near the water surface, especially the promotion mechanism. People have not observed the way organisms move by stealth. Just like a squid contracting its body, a powerful jet of water is used to achieve high-speed backward movement. This propulsion system operates entirely underwater, invisible to the naked eye. As for brown hair, actually, it was because of what was behind him. The draggers, tentacles and arms, swaying and floating on the sea surface, so-called super large size. It was caused by the dragging water ripples. It's an illusion, of course. Professor Henry also stated in the article, this is just a guess based on the newly discovered animal, not a definitive conclusion, because he respected Captain Maguire. The testimonies of the serpentine head were clearly seen by the multi-range device. Mysterious zoologist Bernard Sylvie Mans, in his 1968 book, The Sea Serpent, Traces in Art, a large amount of space was used to analyze the Daedalus sea serpent incident and regard it as sea snake research, a decisive watershed in history, and milestone events. The problem of the serpentine sea monster is directly addressed. It was brought into the mainstream career. This mainly stems from the identity of the purpose. From then on, things changed. Previously mostly from fishermen, businessmen and other under-recognized groups, he turned into an officer. More trustworthy groups such as captains. This forces the scientific community and the public to no longer ignore it. Customs issues. His view is that the testimonies of witnesses such as Maguire are credible. The report was submitted through official channels, and it has a precise date, latitude and longitude, and other elements. Victorian England. This group represents discipline and a sense of responsibility. This was the social consensus at the time. Michael and Professor Irving's opinions. Actually, they are all correct. Michael, no prior knowledge of zoology. Professor Irving, then stubbornly, the Daedalus sea serpent, classified as a known species, even at the cost, misinterpreting the size description in the eyewitness report. In summary, Silvymans believes, at Daedalus Sea Society, it is very likely a kind of large snake-like creatures yet to be discovered, marine mammals, and classify it into its 9 divisions. Jahai hits the giant water tower. The truth about the Daedalus Sea Society. The most popular guess came from 2015. American biologist Gary Galbraith. An article published on the Skeptical Forum. He will bring the image of the mainland and the 4 seas. With whales, a comparison was made of how they appear to emerge from the water at sea. This is mainly based on another eyewitness account from that year. Drummond, sketches drawn at the first moment. This picture wasn't published in a magazine until 1997. Combining modern knowledge of sperm biology, it is assumed that ... Blaze concluded. What Haramoto saw, it is a creature that is opening its mouth to the order of action of lawyers on the water. Flat, triangular upper jaw and dark crystals. View from the side. The head and brown fur that were mistaken for a sea snake. And among the false alarms, the one most consistent with the eyewitness description was the police officer. Its anatomical structure shows and able to stabilize on the water surface. In a locked room, the angle formed by the head and the sea surface. Drawings with Drummond, extremely consistent. Sightings has a slender build. Adults are between 40 and 55 feet long. Its sickle-shaped back is small, but it is very These can all be related to the characteristics of the large Ross sea snake. Corresponding, he believes this classic nautical mystery. It has been untied. Although the theory of price dissimilarity, it won the approval of the majority of people, especially on online media. The Sightings has become explain the main direction of the electric Daedalus sea serpent. However, I personally still believe the evidence is questionable. Because of this conclusion, based primarily on this image, Drummond's side profile angle seems to be very tricky, but I couldn't find the specific location of this picture. Currently, there are 2 articles that mention this image. One is the one mentioned above, Galbraith's article. It was said to have been published in 1997, Mysterious Harbourlog magazine. Another article is from May 2010. Welsh writer Mick. Our artists posted on the blog an article describing what the eyewitnesses saw. You can post pictures here. Volumes 46-47 of the Mysterious Harbour Log. That is, between 1995 and 1996. But I searched for this magazine repeatedly. All versions from the 1990s, including 8 films from 1977 and 1978. This image was not found. I really don't want to admit it's my problem, because I really did search for 2 whole days. Therefore, I cannot determine. This image and its source, Drummond. Is the information from the German, Chinese, Venezuelan government accurate? If the image is authentic, unable to obtain conclusive documentary support, then the very foundation of the entire theory of obstruction would be shaken. Personally, I still lean towards Professor Huelman's theory, believe in the unknown large marine animals. It is possible, especially the giant serpentine sea monster. This kind of animal image, it seems to be present in major sea areas around the world. The description of the form is very consistent with the records. After all, known explanations have been ruled out. Whatever remains, however astonishing, may be the truth. Eyewitnesses to the Daedalus sea serpent, most of them are well-trained crew members, although collective illusion cannot be completely ruled out, and the possibility of cognitive but their rich seafaring experience, it is beyond question. Okay, the truth about the Great Ross Sea. There is still no definitive conclusion. Therefore, whatever the conjecture, it is correct. attitude towards research on unknown organisms. It is inherently about facing the unknown with an open attitude, using known principles to analyze these unconventional reports, bravely put forward new nonsense. After all, the unknown is always greater than the known. This is the source of its perfect charm. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching.